It's at least a 2-day procedure, because how it happens, and we can go into all the details
Let's go.
yeah. So let me just outlaw abortion in general for the listeners so they understand. There's three major ways that babies are aborted. One is the chemical abortion pill. It's federally regulated in the U.S. I can do a whole episode on that, but
You basically go to the CVS, you buy a pill, and you take it. That's it.
Well, you have to get a prescription. You no longer has to be, unfortunately, because of the Biden administration, they used COVID as a pretext to get rid of all the most of the safety standards. Before, it was only approved to 7 weeks. You had to go to a medical clinic and check in 2 or 3 days in order to make sure that the woman is, because it's so dangerous to the women that are taking it. 6% of the women who take the abortion pill actually are hospitalized, have to go to and if you read the abortion pill, mifepristone, even in their black box warning, which is a safety warning in the inside of the box of medication, it says that alone 6% of the women will end up being hospitalized, requiring an extra DNC procedure to remove an incomplete abortion. The safety on mifepristone is very suspect. The politics that is surrounded to bring it to market is crazy. We can do a whole podcast on that whole thing, but so it's 2 pills. The first pill is called mifepristone. That pill is the abortion pill. RU46 is another. That's the medical kind of scientific terminology. RU stands for Russell-Oklov, which is the original patent, has the original patent on the drug, and 46 was the number of the pill. So that starves the baby of an essential hormone called progesterone. So babies need progesterone in order to grow and live. It's the nourishment for them. So it starves the baby of that hormone and kills it. The second pill induces labor. It's called misoprostol. So they're given a pill of two pill regimen. Mifepristone is the first one. Misoprostol is the second one. It induces labor and contractions, and then the woman gives birth in the toilet to a dead baby, and then the baby's flushed down the toilet. So
up to 7 weeks.
Up to, well, that's what it's approved for. So, and then they relax the safety standards to 10 weeks, and then they took the requirement that you didn't even have to be in person anymore from COVID, that you can just get it over the phone. And then they made it so where a doctor doesn't even need to prescribe it anymore. And
so who can prescribe it?
Any type of medical professional, a nurse practitioner. You don't even have to be a doctor to prescribe mifepristone.
10 weeks. How big is the baby?
10 weeks, about, I don't know, about that big. I mean, the babies that we saw in those cups were about that big.
So you definitely feel it when it comes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the amount of blood and cramping is pretty significant. I mean, all you got to do is type in online, and women are talking about how horrible, like, the pain of that abortion pill is. Very, very, very traumatic for women who are taking it. And then a lot of these women are seeing their babies because they have to look, and then they're seeing, wow, this isn't just a lump of clubs. That's that baby with arms and legs and fingers. And I mean, 21 days after conception, the baby's heart beats.
Yeah.
And so,
but prior to that pill, you can have another pill on the second day, right? That's another way of not having a baby. The one that Olivia Rodrigo was handling on one of the concerts.
That's Plan B. Probably.
Plan B, yeah.
Plan B is just an emergency contraceptive. So it's like a high dose of hormonal birth control. That's not technically, it is an abortifacient, but most of the time it's not. There's a lot of misinformation.
But that's not good for women's body as well.
Oh
right?
my gosh, it's a hormonal birth control is horrible for women's bodies. Also, I mean, feminists are saying that. A lot of women are exposing how bad a birth control is for women. By the way, I mean, even environmentally,
No one knows that.
I mean, we're one of the drops in not only testosterone among men, but one of the drops in fertility is just due to the fact that you have how many millions of women that are on hormonal birth control, and how many of these women are peeing out gallons of urine from bodies that are fulfilled, right? And we're now drinking it, and so the
Estrogen.
yeah, it's this all estrogenetic is the thing, and so we're reaping the consequences of all of these big pharma solution to all of these problems that should be just solved with self-control and self-mastery and personal government. But that's not it's not something that you can make money off of.
The pills. What's
Yeah.
next?
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Three types.
Your job, brother, is to keep me
Yeah.
focused.
Caffeinated and
yeah.
focused.
So that's the abortion pill. Then the next common procedure is called a DNE, dilation and so when I say three abortion, those are three procedures, and then plus one chemical pill abortion. So chemical pill abortion, a DNE, DNC is the next common one. It stands for dilation and curettage, and the baby is small enough to where they can just dilate and then insert a surgical curette and basically scrape the inside lining of the uterus and cut up the fetal remains, and then they suction out the contents into
Like with a vacuum cleaner.
Yes, with a vacuum tube, and then that gets put into a little thing, and then that gets put into a denture cup and sent off to the medical incinerator also.
And it's extremely painful, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not as painful as like a DNE or a DNE. The DNE is probably way more painful because the baby's so much larger, and most of the time they use actually sedatives and pain management for that. But there's tons of bleeding
after.
Oh, I mean, oh my gosh, tons of bleeding after. The risk of hemorrhaging is hard, but the abortion pill is actually, I think it's 6 times more dangerous than a surgical abortion. People don't even know that. 6 times more dangerous for a chemical abortion than actually the surgical one. Then you have the dilation and evacuation. So this is babies that are larger. And what they do is they dilate the cervix with something called laminaria usually. Sometimes they'll use like a mechanical dilator, but it's a seaweed. And you stick these sticks of seaweed into the cervix, and they it's like a big sponge, and all of the tissues that have water in them, they all the water leaks into this laminaria, fills up, and then you're just left with a big hole basically because of all of the dilation that occurs. And then they stick surgical instruments in something called a Sofer clamp, which is a big
Look it up.
clamp. Yeah. And then they take an arm, twist it off, pull it out. Extremely painful. Recent medical research, there's been a study that was groundbreaking in the last couple of years called reconsidering fetal pain. They've now know that at 12 weeks that fetuses can feel pain at 12 weeks. And they pull the arms and legs off, twisting and yanking them off the body one by one. And then at last they crush the skull and pull the pieces out, and then they assemble all the pieces to make sure they haven't gotten any.
Like a puzzle.
Yep. And then they vacuum the rest out of the contents. And that is called a DNE. One of the babies in the that we found was a DNE. It was Holly. She was totally Holly and Angel were both brutally dismembered. And then the last is a labor induction. So the same thing, they'll insert laminaria. By the way, the dilation process takes 1 to 2 days. So they can get it quicker in certain type of, if they really need to, but really not less than 8 hours to dilate the cervix naturally. And then they just induce, they give them misoprostol, which is the same drug that the second drug,
With the pill, yeah.
with the pill. And then that induces contractions, and then a woman just gives birth. Now you ask, doesn't the baby come out alive?
Yes.
Well, what they do to prevent that is when they do the insertion of the laminarity to dilate the cervix, they take a long needle and push it through the stomach, and most of the time they use ultrasound guidance, and they'll stick a needle into the baby's chest, and then it's called digoxin, and that stops the baby's heart. And then they'll check for fetal heart activity and make sure that the baby's heart stops. And then the next day after she's dilated, they will induce labor, and she'll give birth to a fully formed dead baby.
So hear me out. If I would watch a movie with this kind of sequence, what an antagonist would do, I would say that's the bullshit. The screenplay is like, that's nonsense. No one does that. What is that? 1970s, 1980s horror movie?
Yeah, no,
but that's the reality.
Well, it's funny, and if you doubt me on that, you can go to Eleanor Dry is an abortionist in San Francisco. She actually has training modules. She's an abortionist there. She's not pro-life at all. She still kills babies, and she does fetal organ experimentation, the whole thing. But if you go to her website, she has a full-blown like training module to the public where all this is outlined. Or if you go to a pro-life source, live action, if you go to whatisabortion.com,
that's the video that I saw.
Yeah, they all have previous abortionists that became pro-life and outline all of the details of all the medical procedures, and they dictate, kind of transcribe the whole procedure,
step by step, and they show the videos.
Yeah, and
when you see the visuals.
Yeah, and it's not as graphic. It's not real children. It's all animated, but man, very, very powerful. Most people don't know. They just have no clue. They've been told this lie that it's a clump of cells, or that's not a real child, or it's your body, or all these lies, and we can get into some of that. But yeah, and this is the lies and propaganda that the abortion industry has been very, very good to obfuscate the reality of what's happening.